I think I would just want to say thank you to everyone who's played the game, because it blows my mind, the response to it. And I love getting messages from people saying how much they've enjoyed it. I love hearing people say, you know, like you yourself, you've played it with your partner, or I've had people say, oh, I played it with my daughter, or, you know, like my nieces and nephews play it with my brother. And I love how it brings people together, and I love hearing it. So it's just a big thank you, really, for playing it and for not getting annoyed with Zoe for being high and positive. Hi, I'm Elsie Bennett, and you may know me as Zoe from Split Fiction. And right now, you are listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. Enjoy.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I forgot the name of my show.
Do you know, I'm so glad, because you've put me at ease by forgetting the name of your own show, because I forget my own name sometimes. So it's actually the perfect start for me. Not great for you, but I'm happy.
Oh man. Aloha and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Faltea, aka Mekel Kasanova, and today I'm joined by a very, very special guest, the one, the only, the phenomenal Elsie Bennett. Elsie, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. That's a very kind introduction. I'm really well. It's lovely to be speaking to you.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the show, and thank you again for taking time out of your day to come on the show. And yeah, it's your game. You know, Split Fiction. It was breaking charts ever since it released, and it's about to re-release. I think what, 2 days, 3 days on the Nintendo Switch 2 for the launch of that, and how does it feel like with that game? You know, you play Zoe in that game, like with how it blew up. Did you expect it with all the different projects that you've worked on, or?
I knew it was going to be big because it's Hazelight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Hazelight at the end of the day, and the team is incredible. And we worked on it for a really long time. It was 3 years, maybe 3.5 years, I think, in total. And every time we went back out to Stockholm, or we were doing the voiceovers in London, it just got a little bit more exciting. Every time we got a little reveal of the next bit of script or whatever, because we only had a brief outline. We didn't really know all the details. And actually, even the brief outline changed from the first time we heard it to the final product. And yeah, it was just sort of like every time you turn out, you'd think that you'd seen the coolest thing. And then they'd go, oh, and then in this level, there's this. Or, you know, something crazy like, you know, you'd go from dragons to, and then your teeth.
Yeah.
What? And so I knew because it was Hazelight and, you know, the values they have there and the commitment they have to making a game, I knew it was going to be good. And then I knew the script was exciting and adventurous. And I knew that it had not been done before.
Yeah.
I had no idea it would be as big as it was. I mean, that was kind of mind-blowing, because like you say, I've done games before, and, you know, I've done big games before, and they've come out and people have enjoyed them and stuff like that. But it's sort of, I don't know. With Split Fiction, it just sort of went nuts, really. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was incredible.
It was like I feel like, so I'm partnered with EA, so I got early access review copy of that, and that was like, I want to say between that, It Takes Two, which I interviewed the main cast of that game, was it Tale of Two Brothers, or no, A Way Out. Like every game that they've put out, that studio has just been like, as soon as it's available for release, smash hit. And like this one, I was playing it with my partner, and we played through the game start to finish, and like it was constantly different genres, different things, and it's like, oh, that's the reference to that. It's a reference to that. Like, oh wow, they added that. You know, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And your performance as Zoe was just so like you literally brought that character to life. And one of the things that I'm slowly dipping my feet into voice acting and transitioning from doing theater in college and high school to voice acting, which that was a long time ago. I'm close to 40. So, but like transitioning that over, like it's very hard to do that within a booth and a microphone, but you brought that character to life as if you were just physically acting. Like that was phenomenal. Like how did you do it?
I mean, we had good writers, and I think when Kaya and I were cast, we were cast because not necessarily. I mean, I might be completely wrong here. I might be lying through my teeth because I don't know exactly what they thought. But I got the impression that they knew, again, the outline of Zoe and Mio, and they had ideas. And then I feel like Kaya and I came in and we had good chemistry and we matched what they decided to do. But then it evolved from that. So I feel like we had a good script, but the relationship between me and Kaya brought out more to play with. And then just, I mean, Zoe's just a great character. She's so positive and enthusiastic, even though, you know, she's got this trauma deep down. She's just so much fun to play. And I think that's always a joy, is to play fun, to play happy, because so many actors sort of think, oh, you know, I want my Oscar-winning role, I want my meaty, you know, drama and all of that. But actually, playing Zoe is really refreshing. It's really enjoyable to just have fun. And she's not far from me anyway. So it wasn't a big leap, you know, I wasn't having to alter my voice. In fact, originally she was going to be American. And then we did a first block of recording out in Stockholm. And then they started reviewing it, and Kaya and I got calls and they were saying, you know, in gameplay, 2 American women, it was hard to distinguish, because obviously in It Takes Two, it's a man and a woman. And then they were saying you know, you're busy watching what you're doing, sorting stuff out, and then there's just 2 American accents, and we're not too dissimilar in our tone. I think I'm a bit higher and Kaya was kind of lower, but they ended up bringing Kaya down a little bit and changing me to my natural voice. So that was kind of a gift, because then I just didn't have to worry about accent or anything like that.
So okay, so you said there's not much of a, you know, from you to Zoe as far as like differences in, well, as well as personality. Like, so was it just like you went into the booth and you're like, all right, I got this? Like, was that confidence was just there already, or could you relate to the character?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm very much go for it, do something, perform, and if it's not right, someone will tweak it. You know, the director will say, actually, it needs to be more this or more that. So I am quite confident in going, this is what I think it is, and I will just do it. And I think with Zoe, it was quite a similar level, what I'd imagined to what they'd wanted. So yeah, one thing I was always really conscious of with Zoe, though, is because she does a lot of like screaming especially in the start when she's in Mio's level, and it's not her bag at all. And I was so conscious of just screaming and being high pitched and going, oh my God, oh my God. And so there's times, if you actually listen back, there's times where I go from like, oh my God, what have you created? To like, oh my God, because I'm trying to like vary it, because I thought these poor people are going to get so sick of this character going, all the time through it. So you can actually hear sometimes there's like, I make a point of like being a bit out of breath with it or something. So trying to save everyone's ears basically for that first bit.
Okay. No, honestly, like I don't think, I feel like your character was like, of course, I do love the character Mio as well, but like Zoe is just really a refreshing character for me personally, because I'll put it this way. See, yeah, okay.
Zoe was your favorite. That's what you're trying to say. Zoe was your favorite.
She was, just because like I'm so used to so many video game characters that are like the edgy, moody, brooding, and it's like, okay, that was kind of unique at the tail end of the '90s. We had all the edge lords in the 2000s, and then, well, actually no, 2000s, 2010s, yeah. And so it's like, okay, a wholesome, bubbly, fun, easygoing character. Okay, that's refreshing, at least for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I really enjoyed the character, and I enjoyed how you brought her to life, and it was just so okay. So, out of curiosity, did you guys, when you were you recording in individual booths, or was it like round table? Like,
No,
you
we were
guys
always together. Always together, and I think that's what made it work. So if we were in Stockholm in the volume in the studio, we would be obviously both of us together, and then when we recorded, we did a lot of our sessions in London, and we'd have a big voiceover booth, and we'd both be in there side by side, separate mics, and doing that. And I think that's important because it's so much. You know, it's the whole point of it is these two characters coming together, and then the players having to work together. So it would be really weird to have done the whole thing separately, and I don't think you'd have got that chemistry. But yeah, it was. There were a couple of really weird times where, like I say, we did it for 3.5 years. A couple of times where we were on our own, and I think it seems like. Well, the Dark Mio scenes, because Kaya still voiced Dark Mio. She did a couple of those on her own, and I wasn't in the room. And it was really weird because I'd be like sat in the little green room, and she'd be in there. And we were like, oh, well, we're not together. Like, this is really, really weird. And then I had a couple. I can't remember why mine were. I think it was to do with the ending, and that was weird. To be in the volume, and to be starting up, and you do your A pose, and you're waiting, and there's no Kaya to kind of like look at and make a joke or giggle. It suddenly felt very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. As serious as Hazelight can be, anyway.
So what are do you have any lines that you recorded for the game that are some of your favorites?
So there's one that always sticks in my head because it kind of became a little catchphrase between me and Kaya. Mine was cool as a camel, which I think is literally in gameplay. So it's not something that I don't think anyone would really sort of focus in on. It's not like it would become Zoe's catchphrase, but cool as a camel, because we were like, cool as a camel. And it took us a while to get our heads around it. We were like, why? Surely a camel lives in a desert. They're really hot. And they were like, yeah, but then they've got their water, so they're keeping cool. And it was, when someone has to explain something really simple to you. And then after that, it just made us laugh every time to be like, cool as a camel. And I really wanted a t-shirt saying cool as a camel with a camel on, but I didn't get it. And then Kaya's was taste my blade. She loved to taste my blade. She'd often just suddenly just like whoosh, whip out a fake katana and go, taste my blade. So those are the ones. And then I don't know. I don't think it was so much individual lines. I think it was just the rapport, the kind of the bickering and stuff like that was always really fun to do, especially after a side story, like coming out of the dentist and being like, why would you create that? And all of that stuff. It was great. I loved it. It's very fun and very silly. It's not your average Monday morning when you're recording with Hazelight. You're not filing things in offices or anything like that. You're pretending to be a tooth or a pig or flying a dragon. It's amazing. It's the best job ever.
I swear, like that part where you turn to the pigs with the magical rainbow farts. I swear that game, Split Fiction, constantly caught me off guard. I'm just like, no.
I know, because you think you've got the level, don't you? You go, okay, there are the boundaries. This is what this game is, and then you're a farting pig, and yeah, and then the ending of that bit as well. You're like, no.
I know, right?
Which is so harsh because they told us what was going to happen, and we were like, oh my god. And then when you actually see it and like the mincers and stuff, like you're like, oh god. Yeah, I loved it.
So how often do you when you do voice acting, do you get to record in the same style that you guys get to do for Split Fiction, or is it case by case, or is it common?
In terms of recording together?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
never. I've never recorded. I think I've done one test once for Hitman. They were testing out whether they could record two people in one room at the same time.
Hmm.
But that never went ahead with me. I don't know if they went ahead with it in with the other characters. But I've never done it. It's always been a solo thing. And what's so lovely about gaming is that it's a solo performance, because you might get fed someone else's pre-recorded line, but you've got a director, you've got a technician, and they're always so involved, and there's usually the client on the line as well. So even though you're on your own in the booth, you do have voices with you. God, that makes you sound crazy, doesn't it? The voices never leave you.
Like voices in my head.
I always hear the voices, they never leave. So what did you think of your interview with Elsie Bennett? Yeah, she's nuts.
No, she's lovely.
Don't use that as your caption. Elsie Bennett, the voices never leave me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is the part where I like to switch gears, because all right, people who were asking the questions that I literally got to ask for Elsie for Split Fiction. Now we get to go into the stuff that I like to talk about, which is, what are some of the things that you like to do in your spare time? Like, what are things that, fans may not know about you that you like to do or enjoy? Do you like to go hiking Mount Everest, or, flying around the world? Like, floor is yours.
I mean, I'm a very simple country girl, basically. I adore walking. It's funny that you said hiking there. I don't hike Mount Everest. I've hiked Snowdon, which is a mountain in Wales, before. But
Wow.
I live in South Yorkshire, and there's the Peak District, which is
Mhm.
beautiful. If you haven't seen it, give it a Google, or I'll send you some photos afterwards. But it's
Okay.
beautiful. And I have a dog that we rescued. I'm very, very big on rescuing animals. And I take her out, and we just go walking for long walks with my husband, my kids. Like it's very simple, but it's what I love to do. I'm very big with family. We've got a big family between myself and my husband, and so we spend a lot of time with them. And I mean, I love to travel, but I actually had a baby in the middle of shooting shooting Split Fiction. So
Oh.
yeah, well, for a few of the shoots I was pregnant, and I was still having to like crash down off things. So I feel like my baby was hardy from the start. He was a tough nut. But yeah, so now that I've got a kid, we don't travel as much, but my husband and I used to travel loads. I love going to different places, seeing different cultures and exploring, but I think that's on hold for a bit now.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever come out here to Hawaii, or?
No, and I would love to. As soon as I saw the invite to come on this podcast, I thought, can we do it in person? Is that possible?
I mean, I do have a studio. I actually just recently signed a contract with a company out here, a Hawaii co-working tour. So they basically built a whole new building with like podcast studios. So I'm one of the first podcast.
Oh,
Well,
that's
technically, I'm
amazing.
the only podcaster in Hawaii. Another reason why they're gonna hate me. Oh, I'm the first that they sign a exclusive contract with. So like whenever I have guests out here, I'm like, I just take them over to my studio. So if you're ever out here in Hawaii, and I could probably make that
Absolutely.
happen, because I do press and media for the conventions out here, and I help facilitate connecting them with voice actors and other celebrities to get them out here. So if you want, I can connect you to KawaiiCon and other conventions out here, or
Hey,
even with your
absolutely.
agent.
I know
And
Kaya and I have both talked about how we'd love to do that, because we've been blown away by the love for this game and the passion. And I've always said people in gaming are like the best audience, and creatives and everyone involved is so passionate. And of course, you always get passion in like TV and film and theatre, but there's also a different element. Like sometimes you can get a little bit of bitterness, sometimes you can
yeah,
get some kind of competitive nature. Like there's a whole variety, and of course that makes it wonderful in its own way. Gaming is just something I've never experienced it in anything else. Everyone comes together and enjoys something together and is passionate about it. And so we have talked about the fact that we would love to do more together. Kaya and I do more, the conventions and stuff like that, and meet some people, because we've spoken a lot to people on social media, and we've done podcasts and interviews and stuff, but it'd be really nice to actually meet some people. And do you know what I would love to see some cosplay.
Oh,
I would love to see people doing from Split Fiction, because I think they're so creative when they do it. I've already seen a couple that people have done, and I just think, wow, so impressive.
Okay. There actually were, was it either April or March? I think was it April? I think it was probably April. When we had KawaiiCon, there was several people that were actually doing cosplay for Zoe Mio. So
no,
yeah.
Oh, mate! Oh, I'm going to have to try and find some photos. Oh, I'd love it. I just really want people to send me photos of their stuff. I love it.
So yeah, I will definitely, I'll get your information, connect you and your agent to KawaiiCon. That way, facilitate something. I've been doing so. One of my best friends and the godfather of my daughter, David Hayter, who does Solid Snake and Naked Snake in Metal Gear, he calls me the voice whisperer. And the reason he calls me the voice whisperer, because he's like, Mekel, you know everyone. I'm like, broker is better than whisperer. I'm like, whispering to anyone? Broker? He's like, no, voice whisperer. I'm like, no, we're actually working on a project for a pilot for a show out here. Oh yeah, I can talk about that. He's put that out there. So we're working on a show out here. But yeah, I will connect you with the conventions out here and see if we can get you guys over
Thank you, almighty voice whisperer.
I'm never gonna live that down. No, I'm not. Broker, voice broker. It just
doesn't work. Once a nickname's stuck, that's it. You're stuck with it.
That's so true.
You just got to go with it now. Embrace it. Embrace it.
One of the other things I want to ask you is like your background in acting. So, what got you into it? Like, is it a passion you've always had, or what is the story? Spare no detail. Let's hop in the DeLorean and let's go.
Oh God, you don't want to go that far back. I kind of just always wanted to do it. I can't remember a time where it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I think, obviously as a child, you don't really understand the concept of what it takes to be an actor, but I wanted to be an actor. And, me and my mum used to laugh because you guys have nativities out there, right? Like the Christmas plays. Do you have nativities?
Yeah.
The story of like baby Jesus and all the kids dress up and do it out there.
Yeah.
So here's my humble brag. I played Mary 3 times.
What? Wow.
And me and my mum used to laugh because it's so stupid, but it was like, from a young age, she was playing Mary constantly. Like, got the main role, which is ridiculous because you literally put a blue tea towel on your head and pretend to ride a donkey, which is usually some sort of box on wheels. But so I was always into it, and the school plays and stuff. It was always exciting, but it was never like I was never driven to kind of be a child actor or anything like that. I was really enjoying my childhood and I was really enjoying my friendships and stuff. But it was like, well, when I get to the point where I have to do something, that's what I'm going to do. And then as I got older, I started doing, like when I was still at school, I was doing amateur dramatics. So, whatever I could access, it was like, Jesus Christ, superstar. And at the time I was having singing lessons and I sort of thought it was going to go down that route of musical theatre. And then I realized very quickly that I actually was not very confident at dancing. And I thought, oh, okay. And then that's when I started to look more into, I guess, what you'd call straight acting, and really enjoyed what I was finding. So matured a bit and started to enjoy reading plays and going to see plays. And then I decided that I would go to drama school. So I started auditioning and I didn't get into drama school straight away. It took me 3 years to get in. So I was working I think I was like, if you got Pizza Hut, it's like a pizza restaurant. I was working there for like a long time, trying to like save up some money. And then eventually I got a place at drama school and went off and did that. And then that was it really. Then I was kind of in, preparing for the industry. And then I was in the industry and it took me a while to get work. I remember graduating. I got an agent, got a really good agent. And then it took me a while to get a job. I think it was quite hard because I met my husband at drama school and he started acting straight away. He was in Doctor Who. He was in some of the soaps we have here. Like he was a jobbing actor. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm a total newbie and I'm not getting anything. I'm auditioning, but I'm not getting anything. And actually, for me, I think it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I learned how to just wait, how to just go, I am good at this. I just have to wait and be patient. And there are going to be times like this and hardships. Whereas some other people that graduated with me or, at the same time, they worked and then suddenly it would drop off and they'd be like, oh my God, what's happened? Whereas I was like, and my husband calls me the shark. He's like, you're under the water swimming, and then an opportunity comes up and you're like, got it. so I'm quite grateful because I'm quite laid back in terms of auditions and, I do believe that, if something's not right, it's just not going to happen and you don't need to get hung up on it. And, I tend to do an audition and then leave it there and that's it and forget about it. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've gone on off on a tangent now. Has that answered your question?
I mean, it has, but I'm like, I want more. Like, that's a great answer because the way, okay, so I'm a very spiritual person. And I truly believe in, you give everything you can, the best that you can, you do your best, you give it your all, and you just trust the process. You just, you step back and say, hey, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And it just sounds like, I'm not sure if you are spiritual or if you're religious or whatever, but like, it just seems like you kind of embody that, and it's like, yeah
I grew up going to church. So there was that, but then I sort of distanced myself from it a bit and I wouldn't say I am religious, but I would say that I don't know. I believe there's something going on. Like you put out good, you get good. So I guess that is, something in the universe. I've never really looked into it too much. I find it fascinating. I find like Buddhism and all of that fascinating. I'm really interested in it, but I tend to, a bit like when I was doing acting training, I tend to pick and choose what I think helps me and works for me. And then I put it in a toolbox and I've got it. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily going all in on one thing and you have to behave this way, because I do think some of them come with really, strange things that didn't work for me. Whereas, yeah, exactly like you said, if you work hard and if you're dedicated and if you're a good person, then you'll get through stuff. I kind of, they're the core foundations. If you can do that, then you're a stronger person. And I really believe in mental strength, sort of looking after yourself and learning how to deal with things. Because, things like not getting the job you wanted, that at a time when you're young, it can feel really upsetting. But very quickly, I sort of went, well, okay, fine, something else will come. Or, okay, I didn't get that job, but I can now go on that holiday with my family or whatever that I was going to have to cancel. So, I guess mental resilience and sort of positivity for me. Positivity is like my favorite thing ever. I'm repelled by negativity. I can't. Oh, you meet some people and they'll turn everything into a negative. And in the end, I just have to sort of, well, it was lovely to meet you and walk away because I can't. I'll try and fill their glass up and, but maybe that happened because then you were going to need to do, no. Or like, we've got some elderly neighbours and they come home from a holiday. I'm like, oh, how was your holiday? Well, the weather was awful. I'm like, but you must have had a nice time. Well, it was all right, but we came home a day early because John had hurt his arm. And you're like, oh my God, you've been on holiday. Some people would kill to go on holiday. So it's like, for me, I can't. I'm like, it's a firm no. I'm out.
But see, and that's the thing, like I've noticed with so many people, like when it comes to, I feel like some people are and it's not to discredit people that have negative experiences or anything like that. We're
Of
for
course,
anyone who's
yeah.
listening or watching when this goes up,
Mhm.
we're not saying that. Okay, put your
No,
pitchforks
completely
down.
different situation.
Completely different. But there are some people I do feel that have a level of addiction to drama, negativity,
Oh
chaos in a
boy.
way. And like
Yes.
there's so many that I've dealt with, and I'm just like, okay, like how are you doing? Oh man, this is horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. My food's cold. This happened. Then I'm like, oh okay. Is there like a sliver of
Yeah.
a
Hope.
good thing? No. All right. You have a good day. Namaste.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're so right. Of course, people go through things, and I've been through things that are really, really awful and really hard. But I think that's what actually tends to make you stronger in the end, because you go, if you've been through a really tough time, when something isn't actually tough.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
something really serious that's happened to you in the past, and then something like, you don't get that job, or someone decides they don't like you, you're like, it's no biggie. It's no biggie. I'll
Yeah.
move on with my life. You move on with yours. And I think that's the difference. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because I'm definitely not saying that no one can ever be negative, because you have to be sometimes. And if not, you're ignoring it, and you're becoming, deluded, I guess, if you're not accepting what's happening to you. Maybe that's it. Acceptance of what's happened, and then, processing and moving on, I guess.
Yeah,
Getting deep. It's getting deep.
I know. Hey, that's what we do in this show. Like, I love to have these types of conversations, because I feel like, the audience gets to not only gain additional perspective, or a viewpoint that they may not have understood, but also, hey, you get to know more about your favorite guests that are on the show. But yeah, that's one of the things. So I grew up. I'm originally from Western Samoa. A lot of people are like, "Aren't you American?" No, well, kind of. My dad's American. My mom's not. I was born in another country. I was raised there. I didn't learn English until I was 7, so that was kind of interesting. But I grew up Catholic, and yeah, I got away from that as soon as I got I got my tattoo done. Traditional Samoan, so shark's tooth and hammer. First tattoo ever. Yeah, so whole chest all the way down to the arm, and then
That's so cool.
later this year I'm gonna get the neck, my whole back to finish it. And it's supposed to wrap around, and then like a full, because I'm from a warrior family, and it's it's kind of interesting, because in Samoan culture you either spiritual, Catholic, or Mormon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like one of those three. And I've gone down, but I went down the spiritual route, because I'm like, there's a lot of things in religion I don't care about. And I'm not trying to disparage anyone who's religious or your beliefs or anything. Hey, your relationship with creator or whoever
Exactly.
that's a personal relationship, But I just found it didn't work for me. It just didn't work. And I found like spirit, like, I'm very similar to you of picking and choosing. Okay, I like that. I like that. Meditation. Okay, I like. Maybe I can't sit there. I'm gonna go work out. All right, I'm gonna get comfortable. I'm gonna find comfort in the uncomfortability and meditate while I'm trying to set a new personal record. So
I like it.
So like I kind of pick and choose, and as I've gone down this process of spirituality, and just I do observe and study other religions and other people's beliefs and such, and I found that by traveling, learning more about religions, cultures, and whatnot, I really find myself coming to a point of non-judgment, less judgment. I'm just more an observer, in a way. If I were to put it that way, like I observe people. Like there's a lot of things I'm like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that, but hey, maybe there's a lesson you can learn in that. and
yeah,
I would also say like another thing along that journey that really kind of kickstarted me on that was I've gone through colorectal cancer twice, stage 3.
Oh gosh.
And I survived it. And it's like one of those things where I'm just like, that really put a lot of things in perspective. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I really like a lot of things that people freak out about. I'm like, breathe, it
Yeah.
may not be that serious. Sometimes you
Yeah.
got to step out of the storm to be able to observe the scenery. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're better now. Yeah, it's exactly like you said, when you go through something it makes you have to put on your armor and fight for stuff. I think it kind of makes you realize when you can put down your armor a bit more
Yeah.
and go,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to leave that to the drama llamas. They can take that one.
Yeah, yeah. But I love what you said about like mental resilience. And that's something that I really feel that a lot of people should definitely like start building up that resilience, because it's like I feel like in this era we're in now of instant gratification, instant everything. I mean, literally everything's at our fingertips now. Um, a lot of people don't know how to deal with delay. What is it? Is it called delayed gratification? I think it is. Like where you just have to work for it and you don't get it immediately, but it eventually comes. Or
Mm.
if opportunity comes, you don't get it. It's like, oh, okay. Like instead of being bummed out, like, okay, maybe it wasn't for me. Like that level of acceptance. I feel a lot of people in modern, and social media plays a very large part in it, but I
Yeah.
just feel like a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah. Yeah. For
people
sure.
struggle with that. With
Yeah.
just the mental resilience. It's hard, especially what is it? It's called imposter syndrome. Constantly comparing, and people think, oh, if I see this person, they're living well, that's their life. No, you're seeing what they want you to see.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I did like a course quite a while back, quite a few years ago. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and I've always kept it with me since, is we choose how we feel. So yes, something awful might happen, but we choose how to react to it. So, like, oh, I'm in such a bad mood, I'm having such a bad day. And it's like, no, I'm choosing to have a bad day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
choosing to be in a mood. And that's always stuck with me. And, I do get in bad moods really easily sometimes. Or, it only takes someone like pulling out in front of you in the car, or, whatever, my dog going off at someone else, and you're like, oh God. And then and it's always helped me since then to just go, just I'm not going to do that. I'm choosing to not be in a bad mood about that. And I think, again, that's mental resilience, and realizing you have a choice, and it's so obvious. But before I read that, I was like, it sort of blew my mind a bit. You decide how you feel. And funny you said about
Mm-hmm.
cancer, because within that course, it said you do a quiz at the start, and it's sort of 1 to 5 is your answers of how much you agree with that sentence. And one of the questions was, if I got diagnosed with cancer, I would be devastated. And I put 5, completely agree. Of course I'd be devastated. That's awful, awful, awful. And then you do the quiz again at the end of the course. And when I did the quiz at the end, I answered 1, because what I learned was it's horrible, but I can cope with it. And it's your coping mechanisms. Yeah. And again, that blew my mind, because I thought, the narrative is always, oh my God, this has happened. Oh my God, oh my God. And actually, like survivor, you've done it. And I think it's so impressive for people that can then just go, I've got that strength. I don't want to have to use it. Of course I don't. I don't want to have to go through it. And of course it is devastating. But devastating is not the only word in that sentence. And I think I think it's really powerful to sort of have that. And my husband's really into Stoicism as well. And he's got these books, The Daily Stoic, I think it's called. And that's really impressive. Do you know it?
I do. And there's a where's okay, there's a book I highly recommend, and it's from one of my friends in the UK. Your husband might be familiar with him. Neuro Knowledge. He does a lot of stuff. He just wrote this book, Outsmarting Reality. Highly recommend it. Shout out to Neuro Knowledge.
There we go. I've got a photo of it. Yeah. I'm not very good at reading nonfiction, though. I try my hardest, but I get so bored. I have to really, really do a little bit here and there. I wish I was one of those people that could do it, but there's loads of books on my bookshelf that are meant to make me a more intelligent, better person, and I go for a fantasy novel every time.
Okay, so I'm very curious. What are your go-to fantasy novels if you were to pick, say, 3 or 5? 3 or 5 of them. See, I got to put you on the spot. It's
fine. I can work with that. I mean, it's not always. Oh, okay. It's hard sometimes to define fantasy, isn't it? Because like someone asked me the other day, is Star Wars sci-fi or fiction? And I was like, sci-fi or fantasy? And I was like, oh, it really blew my mind. But it's hard because there's a book called The Book Thief, which is actually set in World War II, but it's told from Death's perspective. So technically, I guess, it's kind of fantasy. So that, what else have I read that I adored? Oh, there's so many. I'm going to have to come back to you. There's too many to think.
Pick one.
I know. Easy. The Philip Pullman trilogy, The Northern Lights.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm familiar with that one. Yes.
Yeah, so that I loved that, and I loved the BBC did an adaptation of it. I think last Christmas or the Christmas before, and I loved that because I just love how people can create these worlds. It just blows my mind. I'm not a writer in any way, shape, or form. Give me a script and I'll create that world physically and vocally or whatever. Fine, but I can't do it. And the level, like, how do people sit down and go, this is where we start, this is where we finish, and all of this happens in between, and we thread in this and thread in it. Like, it blows my mind. What a talent to be able to do it. And so when I'm reading them, I'm like giddy. I'm like a fan over it. And when I'm into a book, I am into a book. That's, I will find the time to read it. But I also hate not finishing a book. So a couple of times, well, quite more than a couple of times, I've read books that I'm hating. I'm so stubborn like that. I'll be like, no, I have to finish it, even though I'm not enjoying it, which is so stupid. Put it down and read a book you do enjoy. But I'm like, no, something good might happen at the end.
It's like, it has to course correct at some point. I did not invest this much time to be let down where I'm at. Yes, that's happened a number of times to me.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of dark books. I don't like books that are. I read a book once, and it was about, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about a child going missing, and that was not for me. Not for me at all, because I think that's my escapism. That's where I go to kind of, escape the harshness of real life sometimes. And, like a witch or a wizard or whatever, they can be dark and challenging and scary or whatever, but they're not real. And when you sometimes read stuff, I don't want to read the news, as in my leisure time. I don't want it to be reflected. And I finished it because of course I did. And I thought it was going to be a happy ending. I thought this kid was going to come back, and it didn't. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, no. So yeah, that's not for me. I'll take a crime novel. There are certain crime novels I enjoy, but not to that sort of darkness. It's same with television and films. It's not my bag.
And that's one of the things I've noticed with like a lot of television films, and also I guess you could say like video games as well. Over the last 10, 15 or so years, there's this, and I'm not discrediting anyone who likes this. All right, let me put that out there for the people. No,
of course, it'd be very boring if we all like the same thing. Absolutely.
Right. I just feel like for me, it's one of those things where it's like I've noticed there's over the last 10 to 15 years. There's putting so much of what's going on in the real world. And I understand to spread awareness of it, but
yeah,
it can be draining. I'm like, all right, I get it. I see it. It's on the news. I see it on social media. All right, I'm in my leisure time. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to read it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to watch it. And some people have said to me personally that, oh, it's bad that you're like that. I'm like, but I'm bombarded all day from social media and the news.
Yeah, and it's not like you're turning a blind eye to it. I think that's the difference. It's not like you're going, I never want to see that. That doesn't exist. We're all aware of the atrocities that are going on in the world, and we all hopefully are doing our bit. And, if you can donate a bit or if you can share or whatever, we're all, and I certainly am doing that. In the real world, it's for me, it's unavoidable. I really, my heart aches when I see stuff, and and since having a kid as well, you see stuff going on, you just think, well, I think the difference is when it's a fictional story about something happening. I'm like, no, if we can create anything, let's create something not necessarily happy and sparkly and shiny and unicorns or whatever, but, let's not go down that road. Whereas, there are loads of documentaries which I've watched, and there are loads of dramas that are sort of recreations of things that have happened in the past. And those I will watch. I won't necessarily enjoy them, but I think they're important to understand, especially when they're from people with different walks of life to mine. I think that's important, because I think it's ignorant to just have your horse blinkers on and go through life with what you're confronted with. I think, like I was saying about travel, experiencing what other people go through, well, not even experiencing, but, seeing and understanding that life isn't ABC. It's, all over the place. So there is, it's a mess. But there is a place, I think, for those things. But for me, it's when people create something really, really dark that is just a dark drama about something that hasn't happened, as in, like it's not based on a real trial or whatever, and it's not, making people aware of stuff. It's just that for me, I'm like, oh, no. Yeah. And it became a real thing here as well for a while to do sort of mainly what I'm talking about is like child abduction and, stuff in childhood and stuff like that. It became a real thing for a while to do like a BBC drama about this child that went missing or this child that was abused. And for me, it's like, no, I know it happens. I don't need to have extra stories about it, It's just, I also think it's kind of, my dad works in child protection. So I grew up, he'd suddenly go like, oh, when you were at primary school, did you have a teacher called Mr. So-and-so? And I go, yeah. And he'd go, And you'd be like, no. And so for me, I've always been aware of it. I've always known it's around. He never shared like, horrible details or anything. But because of his job, I was always aware that it happened. And it's just such a horrible thing that for me, it's just a no entertainment on that. Thank you. Entertainment is entertainment or education. I don't need to be educated about that side of life. We should end that there, because I feel like I'm going down the rabbit hole on that one. God, you've got me talking. You're very good at this.
And I was the one nervous at the start. I was like, I don't know. So touching on parenthood, I guess, it's not, okay, I'll drive, and if we want to stop and turn around, we'll do that. So here's a question I have for you, because this is something that I'm thinking about every time that, I'm with my 4-year-old, and it's just how different the world, her and kids within her range, the younger generation, how different their world is from what I grew up with. I'm from pre-social media. I remember when we used to actually go outside and play, and, summer movies, and, actually having to, yes, I'm showing my age, people. Yes, using a map to figure out before we had GPS. So, like it's so surreal seeing how the world is changing, and more so, I guess, where I'm trying to guide this is like how, you see constantly how like the younger generation, their addiction to social media, their lowering of attention spans, putting their self-worth into likes and comments and that type of false validation. Like, for me now, being a parent, I'm like, I don't know how to navigate when she becomes like a teenager, like to deal with that. Because I'm like, I didn't have to deal with that. When social media was a thing, I was already a teenager. Well, actually, MySpace, yes, kids, MySpace, that was a thing. But, like, it wasn't, it was more of a MySpace and social media, I feel like, at a point was fun, cool. Okay, look at this. I put the music, and MySpace really had us building custom layouts and everything like that. But we didn't have that addiction and just putting our identity in social media the way this current generation does. It kind of scares me, like, going forward. I'm not sure if you've had thoughts about that, or especially with AI and everything now, and people have
Yeah.
AI friends, and the stuff with, was it Google VO3, where it can just, you type it in and it's like real life, and it's like you have to look to see that that's not real. It's
Yeah. It is scary, I think. I think a lot of the pressures of parenting is scary.
yeah,
But I think so my little boy is only 19 months, so I'm not at that stage yet. But I have got lots of nieces and nephews, and I've seen, like you say, the difference, like the sort of the power that it has over them. And my sister-in-law is a teacher, and she teaches specifically I can't remember the title, the name of it, but it's about sort of, religions and all of this, social media. And she teaches some amazing lessons. And we have these conversations, and she's similar to you in that she says, it's so dangerous and all of this. And the positivity in me is like, but we can do it. We can get over it. We can do it. And it's not, it's not blind positivity, because I'm aware of how tempting and inviting it is to kids. And what is it, they get the instant what's the release, endorphins,
yeah,
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 yeah, like you're saying, the gratification, the instant gratification, and all of that, the dopamine hit of
yes,
scrolling,
yes.
and all of that. And but the same sister-in-law is also raising 2 kids, and they are the prime age now where it's kind of starting to be the pressures of peers and friends and all of this. There's all of that being cool and social media and whatever. And I can see her and my brother navigating it, and loads of other people in my life as well, other family members, but specifically because she's a teacher, I see how she sees the worst of it and is still raising these kids, and they're okay. They're doing really well despite all of those temptations and stuff. So it may be naive. You may come back to me in 5 years when my kid's a bit older, and I might say something completely different. But I think that family unit is what will always help combat those kind of things. I think the more secure your relationship, the more confident the conversations can be, the more open you are with them. If there's trust there, if there's complete trust, if you're always talking and you're always available and, not going to judge, you're just going to have a conversation and say, okay, how do we feel about that or whatever, then I feel like you're a big, what's the word I'm looking for? Your anecdote to it, I guess. Not anecdote, antidote to it. We have the power as parents. Like, we're the most important people in those kids' lives up to a certain point. Yeah. If we really harness that and we really look after them and nurture them, then we're who they come to when they're troubled. And this is why it's important to educate ourselves and have mental resilience and stuff, so that when they come to us, we have some answers, or we go looking for the answers. So maybe it's that relentless positivity in me, but I think it is scary. But there's always been something scary. Always. There's always been the threat of something. There's always been whatever. And I think it's up to us to guide, to educate, to comfort, and we just tackle it day by day, I guess. Is that right?
I swear your energy and vibe is so similar to my wife. She's got that same positive bubbliness to it. I think you and her would like completely. She's also.
Well, when I come out to Hawaii, we'll meet. We'll go for lunch.
I mean, I know she would love to interview. She also has a podcast herself, and I co-host with it.
Is she number 2? Is she number 2 and you're number 1?
I mean, yeah. but hey, at least we dominate the podcast scene out here, so that's one of the things. But no, she has a very similar like just vibe and energy to you. And when we were playing the game, like that's why she loves Zoe. I was like, man, so much like you. She's like, I know.
Amazing. Yeah, people say to me, are you like Zoe? And I sometimes say like, no, I'm not as confident as she is in making friends and, all of that. But actually, I think I am very similar to Zoe. I'm not like, I'm more like a cat. Like when I meet people, I'll sort of sit back and I'll, think, okay, is this going to be my kind of person? Like, you wait and you suss it out a bit. And I'm always polite, but I won't go, hi, here's my life story, and here's this and this and this, which is what Zoe does. Whereas I'm like, once you're in that little circle, it's like, hi, I'm Elsie. So yeah, I think I probably am more like Zoe than I let on, which is a good thing.
Cool. So this may be a bit of a personal question, but I'll give a preference. Precedence. All right, I'll set the stage. Okay, so I'm kind of a realist, but also, like I said, spiritualist. I can also be kind of brooding, but my wife, super bubbly, energetic, balances me out. I'm wondering, are you that for your husband? Like, are you guys like?
Well, we've been together, so will have been married 10 years this year, and we will have been together.
We're hitting that
shout
same...
it through in a minute. We've been together for 17 years. He's actually in the game, by the way. He's in Split Fiction.
Oh, wow.
He's Mr. Hammer in it.
What? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we met when we were quite young, and I think we've grown up together. So we sort of, oh God, it sounds so wanky and awful, sort of evolved together. Our relationship has, as we've grown up and matured, we've figured out what works for ourselves and what works for each other. So we're a really, really strong unit, but we are ridiculous. Like when you have jokes with people that you just, no one else would get, and that's what we are together. Like he's everything. It's so gushing and awful, and I don't normally sort of say stuff publicly, but he is everything to me. We've been through a lot together. We lost 5 babies, and then eventually had our own baby. So we've been through tough times, but we've also had the most amazing times traveling. We've explored everywhere. We've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And then now we're raising a kid together, and that brings its own challenges. And I often say to him, I don't know how people do this if they're not with the right person. If they're, if it's God, like it can literally rip you apart because you're tired and everything. But he's very so we're very ridiculous, both of us. I don't know. Are we similar? Josh, are we similar or are we opposites? Why? Come here. Introducing Mr. Hammer to everyone. Jean, my baby boy's also got a credit in it as well.
Oh, wow.
So this is my husband. Come here. You can't hear, but I'll relay to you. Do we play off each other? Come here. Do we play off each other? Like, one of us is positive, one of us is negative, or what do you say?
No, I'd say we're quite balanced.
Yeah, that's what I said. Ridiculous, like silly, but quite balanced.
Yeah, balanced.
Josh will bring me down. If you need to show your face.
Sorry, well, pull the chair up. Let me sit down.
Here you go.
Hovering on the
Mr. Hammer, everybody. I think you are. You'll be more sensible than me. I can get a bit over the top about stuff sometimes. And Josh will go, it's not a problem. Just calm down. And I'll go, oh, yeah, okay.
That's how I am with my wife.
I don't think you're ridiculous.
That's like you. That's like him with his wife.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallels. Like, we've been together the same amount of time. We're about to hit 10
exact
years
same amount of time.
Yes.
10 years marriage.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank
Good,
you.
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Now people are going to hate us. They're going to be like, oh, these sickly married couples that are happy in their 10-year marriage.
Which, that's the thing that kind of blows my mind is so many people, like, well, I'm not sure how it is the rest of the world. I know out here in Hawaii, there's so many people that are wanting a relationship and they're like, oh, how do you guys last that long? Or how did you get through this? Like, did you work through this? And we're like, we literally talk about everything.
Yeah,
we literally work.
Josh can't hear you because you're in my ear, but they're saying they talk about everything, and that's exactly like us, isn't it? Like we won't have massive fallouts. We'll have like bickering. We'll bicker about something, and then it's gone. It's let go of, and we'll never like hold on to stuff and then be resentful. You have to just let it go. But again, I think that's because we met quite young. Do you want to go? I'll let you go now if you want.
Nice to meet you.
He's busy working. You'll get a credit now, Josh. Yes. Or you might not make it to the final cut.
No, I mean
enough,
it's completely up to you. Like like I said, whatever you'd like to leave in. But okay, so I know we passed the 45-minute mark, and I greatly appreciate your time. I don't want to go too far over, but is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we go? It can be anything. If you want to plug anything, feel free.
I'm the worst person for plugging stuff. I'm not. I don't know. I think I would just want to say thank you to everyone who's played the game, because it blows my mind, the response to it. And I love getting messages from people saying how much they've enjoyed it. I love hearing people say, like you yourself, you've played it with your partner, or I've had people say, oh, I played it with my daughter, or, like my nieces and nephews play it with my brother. And I love how it brings people together, and I love hearing it. So it's just a big thank you, really, for playing it, and for not getting annoyed with Zoe for being high and positive. Yeah, I think so. I can't think of anything else. I probably will, and I'll probably think of the novels as well that you were asking me about afterwards.
Well, I will say this: if you would be interested, I'd love to have you back on the show again, and we could talk about the novels, like open door policy. Would love to have you on again, and like I said, I know my wife would the show we do together. I know because she loved your work.
Oh, you do it together?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, this is exciting. So what does that cover?
So her show is called Podcast Across Worlds, PAW. So she interviews people, voice actors, ADR people, and mangakas and such, and composers. And basically, sometimes I'll just sit there and I'm there to be the co-host. Sometimes I'll drive. We'll watch it. Either we're interviewing or we're watching a show. It could be anything. Like we literally did a almost 3-hour podcast on Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And like, it had nothing to do with the topic for her show, but it was just because we're like, hey, we got to talk about this, like the acting and all this other stuff. Our audience was like, it's not what the show is about, but we like it. So,
hey, that's a sign of a good podcast host, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, we do that together. And then I've had her on my show, this show here, and then so that's the 2 shows I'm on. Then I have a third one, which is completely just for tech and gaming and tech news and all that, which it gets boring because I'm like, here's a mouse. Oh, here's an updated mouse. What is the difference? Shape, ergonomics. It just becomes redundant, but pays bills. So
exactly, we've all got to do it.
Yeah. So I'd love to have you on the show again. And with that being said, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Elsie Bennett. I think it's Elsie_Bennett. I actually had Elsie Bennett, and then I, for some reason, panicked. This is like years ago. Was like, oh, hang on, deleted the account because I thought I'd got Elsie_Bennett. This is so boring. Why do I tell these stories? And then basically gave Elsie Bennett to someone else. What kind of story is that? Who's interested in that? Anyway, so cut that. You can find me on You can find me on Instagram as Elsie Bennett. And that's it, really. I don't really do any of the others. I am not on that because I don't agree with a lot of things that go on with bigwigs. So that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that site's something else.
Well, I mean, I say that, but then Instagram is Meta now, isn't it? So it's, they're all.
It's crazy because it feels like there's have you heard of the other new social media platform, the one from TikTok called Lemon 8, which is basically like Threads and Instagram put together, and I'm just like, I cannot be bothered with trying to get another social media platform.
Do you do TikTok?
I do TikTok, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Well done you, because nah. I mean, that's showing my age, but I got on it and I thought, no, this is a headache. this is an absolute headache. I couldn't be bothered with it. And I love seeing other people and they make these TikToks, and like, my niece is amazing. I think my niece has got me on one of hers, lo and behold, because I'm actually cool enough maybe to be in one. She's probably deleted it now. But yeah, I like all of that. And again, going back to, I can't dance, so I can't do any of the dances and stuff like that. But yeah, Instagram for me is like, yeah, we'll do that. But I did have a MySpace when you were talking about MySpace. So we're the same age. I think we're exactly the same age from what you said. Yeah. So which is crazy because, sorry, go.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, poor Kaya, she's younger. I think she's 22 now. And a lot of the references, she's a baby, but she's a very clever baby. She's, not to downplay it. She's very intelligent, that woman. And but she didn't get a lot of the references, and I'd go off on one with, some movie reference from the 80s or whatever, and she'd be like, what? And you just constantly feel old, and you're like, oh, puppy, you're a puppy. So when you were dropping your MySpace hints and all of this, I was like, we're the same age. It's all good.
Oh my god. No, it's the funniest thing is like seeing, people that were born in either the late 90s or like any part in the 2000s, and it's like, oh, I'm adult. They're adults now, and I'm just like,
I've only just become an adult. You're not an adult.
like, what? Yes. Like, what are you talking about? What? Like 2000? That was only a couple of years ago. No, that was 25.
Oh man, isn't it crazy? And when you're younger, you think like nearing 40 is so old, and I'm 39 in October, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not old. It's not old at all. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's the thing that like really gets me. I was having this conversation with one of my friends, and they were saying like, Mekel, when are you gonna start acting your age? I'm like, what do you mean act my age? Because I don't. They're like, oh, but you're in your late 30s. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. To me, I'm not old. Like, my body in certain, like, turn a certain way, and you get like aches and whatnot. But like, I feel young, and a lot of people like at my gym that I go to, there's a guy who's like 65 or 67 or so, and he goes there, he sees me every day. He's like, hey, big man, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. And I asked him one day, I'm like, is there a point where you ever mentally feel old? And he's like, brother, I still feel the same way that I did when I was like mentally when I was 20 something, like my mid to late 20s. He's like, it's just my body got older. And I'm like, yeah, oh, okay. Because I'm like, yeah.
And that's why it's so important to look after your body. Get the body to keep up with the mind. We'll be all right. I think it's important. Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, thank you, Elsie, for coming on the show. Big shout out again to our sponsor, Spotify. Only podcast in Hawaii. Well, yeah, still. Only podcast in Hawaii that is sponsored by Spotify. So thank you guys for believing in us and well, me. It's me. Is there us? Is there? Well, she kind of. Yes, you count. You do count. Pitchfork down. But big shout out to Spotify for that, and all the people that have been on this journey with me for the last decade plus. I greatly appreciate you guys. I will leave links for my guests' social media. Well, Instagram. We'll just leave it at that. It's just fun. I like the idea of one social media. I am tired.
One. You can get me on
all
one.
These other ones. Because like all I do is like I schedule out posts. Like I don't do the scrolling just because I get tired. Like, yeah. Anyways, so with that being said, thank you for coming on the show, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast or any of the other episodes that we've done so far, if you've enjoyed any of the conversations I've had with
guests that I've had on the show, or just general topics that you guys have thrown at me or that I've researched and we've just talked about on the show, then do me a solid. If you're listening on any of the major podcasting outlets, make sure you leave a comment, leave a rating or a review, because it greatly helps out the show. If you're watching the show on YouTube, which airs every single week, then make sure you sub to the channel, youtube.com/@Mekel Kasanova, or just youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, or even do us an even bigger solid by liking the video and sharing it with someone you think would find some enjoyment out of it. And all that being said, I hope you guys continue to enjoy this podcast and the content we put out here, because hey, we do it with a passion and we do it for you. So with that being said, I catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you around. Peace.